So looking at 5-point homework, so the homework last night, we're going to take a look at number 3. So how can I solve number 3? What should I do first?
Either x or y.
I can eliminate either x or y, so I'm just going to combine them all together, combine my like terms. The x's cancel. What happens to the y's?
They cancel.
They cancel also. What am I left with on the left side?
1 plus 1. 0 equals 2.
0 equals 2. What would my answer be here?
No.
No solution. So the answer is no solution, but I still have to match it up with a graph. So no solution, we know that the graphs are parallel. So we need those two lines, but they're going to be parallel. So there's a couple different ways that we can graph it. I think the way that we like doing it best is when it's in y equals mx plus b form, or slope-intercept form. So I'm going to take my equation, negative x plus y is equal to 1. How can I make this into y equals mx plus b? Got to move the x to the other side, so I'm going to add it to move it to the other side. So I have y is equal to x plus 1. So now we want to figure out, what's my b? 1. What's my slope, my m? 1 over 1, or just 1. So if I were to graph this, I start at 1 on the y-intercept. My b is the y-intercept. So looking at the two graphs that are parallel, I know it's either, which two?
F or D.
D or F. So if I were to graph this, I would have to go up 1 and then do my slope of rise over run. So I'd go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So my line would look like this. Does this line match either one of these two lines?
No.
No. So it's not D. Let's check F. I put my y-intercept at 1 and I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Does this line match any one of these two lines?
Yes.
Yes. So what would my answer for 3 be? F. All right, so let's take a look at number 5. Do you want to solve using substitution or elimination?
Elimination.
Elimination, we can do that. Do I have a variable that's going to cancel off right away? No. What do I need to do to make one?
Multiply by 2 on the top.
Okay, I can multiply by 2 on the top. Which variable are we trying to cancel, x or y?
Y.
Okay, so I have 4x plus 2y is equal to 8. What's 4x minus 4x? 0. What's 2y minus 2y? 0. They cancel. That was our goal, was to cancel out the y's. What's 8 minus 8? 0. Does 0 equal 0?
Yes.
Yes. So what's my answer here?
Infinite solution.
Infinitely many solutions. So now let's just take one of our equations and graph it and see. Well, we know that if it's infinitely many, what do our two lines look like? They're going to be the same line. So I only really need to graph one because I know the other one's going to be the same thing. So I'm just going to take the first one and we'll graph that. So I have, I'm going to write it down here. 2x plus y is equal to 4. Now we want to put this into slope-intercept form to help us graph so we can see what our slope and our intercept is. How would I put it in slope-intercept form? Awesome. We need to move that 2x to the other side. So I'm going to subtract it to move it over. So I have y is equal to negative 2x plus 4. So now this is in our y equals mx plus b form. That's the way we like it to look in order to graph it. What's my b? 4. So that's my y-intercept. That's where I cross the y-axis. And what is my slope? Negative 2 over 1. So that's my rise over run. So let's look at our graphs. Which are two possible options for number 5?
B or E.
B or E, because those are the two where it's the same exact line. So my y-intercept is 4, and my slope is -2/1. So I would put my first point at 4 and go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. Does this line match the line for E? No. So it's not E. Let's check B. I put my y-intercept at 4, go down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1. Do our lines match?
Yes.
Yep, so what's my answer?
B.
B. So number 5 would be B. Let's do number 8. So for number 8, I'm going to combine my equation. Well, do you want to solve with substitution or elimination?
Elimination.
Elimination. And which variable do you want to eliminate?
X or Y.
Y would be better. Why is Y better?
Because it's the same.
They're already the same number, but opposite. So they already cancel. So I'm going to combine my like terms. What's 5x plus x? 6x. And what's 17 minus 2? 15. What do I do next to solve for x? Divide both sides by 6. So x is equal to 15 over 6. Can I simplify that fraction? I can divide the top and the bottom both by 3. So that would be 5 over 2. If you want to make it a decimal, that's fine. Divide 2 into 5, it would be 2.5. So I know that my two lines are going to intersect where the x is 2.5, or 5 over 2. So my two lines intersect in either A or C. That's where I have one solution. And A, they intersect right here, and C, they intersect right here. What's the x in A? 2.5. What's the x in C? 2. So which one of these two do you think would be my answer? A. So 8 would be A. If we were solving this out all the way and we had to find what y is, how would I find y?
Plug that in.
You would take the x and plug it into x and then solve. But here we just have to match, so we could stop since we know that it's going to be A. So the assignment says 5.1 through 5.2, but it's under the quiz review assignment. It's all of them together. It was just titled wrong. But if you open it up, you'll see it's 5.1 through 5.4. So it is 8 pages, but don't be alarmed. There's only a few questions on each page that you have to do. So you only have to do the highlighted ones. So all in all, I think there's 20 questions. We're going to do a few together in class, and then whatever we don't do will be your homework. So let's take a look at number 1. We have to tell whether the ordered pair is a solution of the system of linear equations. How can I tell that?
Plug in the X and the Y.
Perfect. Which one's my x?
3.
3. Remember, it's always x and then y. So I'm plugging in 3 for x and 1 for y. So I need to plug it into both equations and make sure that it makes sense. So when I plug it into the first one, I have 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. So does 4 equal 4?
Yes.
Yes. So it makes sense in the first equation. Let's check the second one also. So 2 times 3 minus 1 is equal to 3. Make sure you follow your order of operations. So PEMDAS. What do I have to do first? Multiply. So 2 times 3 would be?
6.
What's 6 minus 1?
5.
Does 5 equal 3? No. So is this a solution? No. So you have to check both. If it doesn't work in either one, it would be not a solution. So it gave me y. I have y equals. Oh, but here I have to solve with graphing. So I could solve algebraically if you wanted to, but I have to solve with graphing. I have to graph it and find where the two lines intersect. So with my first equation, how do I want to graph this? Luna. Well, that would be solving algebraically. If we plugged in -3, we could find x, which would be easier for this question, but it asks us to graph them. So we have to graph. So how do I graph my first equation here?
Plug in the -3 for y.
Just this equation. So we're just looking at one. To graph, you just graph one equation at a time. How would I graph this?
Subtract 3x on both sides.
Perfect. We want to put it in y equals mx plus b form to graph. So I'm going to subtract 3x on both sides to move that 3x to the other side. So I have -2y is equal to -3x plus 6. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to get it into my y equals mx plus b form. Need it to be in this format. So I have to move the x to the other side. Am I in the correct form yet?
No.
What else do I have to do?
Divide both sides by -2.
Divide both sides. Not only both sides, but I have to divide everything by -2. So we're dividing both sides, but just make sure you divide it by all three. So it'll cancel out because -2 divided by -2 is just 1. We can leave it as a fraction here, but what's a negative divided by a negative?
Positive.
+3/2. And then what's 6 divided by -2?
-3.
-3. Am I in slope-intercept form now?
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. So what is my slope?
3/2.
And what is my intercept?
-3.
-3. So what's the first point on my line going to be?
-3.
I need to put a point at -3 on the y-axis because this is my y-intercept. So there's my first point. How do I show the slope of 3/2?
Up 3 to the right 2.
Perfect. That's my rise over run. So I'm going to go up 3 to the right 2. I'm going to put a couple points and then just connect my dots. So that's our first line. My next line is y is equal to -3. Lauren. You don't really have to because we're just trying to find where they intersect, but yeah, if you want to. So how would I graph y is equal to -3? I'm going to put a point at -3. And what type of line is it? Is it a flat horizontal line or a vertical line?
Vertical line.
Let's see. If I put a vertical line, did it matter that I put a point at y is -3? Or could y be also -2 or 0? These are all the y points. So it's actually a horizontal line. Because here, this is where y is -3. Y is still -3 here. Y is still -3 here. Any of these points, y is -3. So when it's y equals, it's a horizontal. So once I graphed both my lines, what is my answer? Remember, my answer has to be a coordinate point, so it's where they intersect. 0, comma, -3. Perfect. The x is 0 and the y is -3. So this would be my answer. So where the two lines intersect, that's your answer. Remember, it's always x and then y. So let's look at 15. So we're just going to graph the first line. How can I graph this?
-3x on both sides.
Perfect. I want to subtract 3x on both sides. So I have -4y is equal to -3x plus 7. What can I do next?
Find our bn.
Divide both sides by -4.
before I find the slope and the b and the y-intercept, I have to get that y equals all by itself. So I have to divide everything by -4. So now I have y equals, what's a negative divided by a negative? Positive 3 over 4x. And then this would be minus 7 over 4. So what is my slope here? 3 over 4. And what's my y-intercept, my b?
Negative 7 over 4.
-7 over 4. What's the first point I'm going to put on my line? -7 over 4. On which axis? The y-axis, because that's my y-intercept. Now where would that go? Can we change it? Yes, but can we change it to a mixed number to see where exactly it would be? Yeah, so let's divide 4 into 7. So that would be 1 or -1 and 3/4. So I would go down 1 and 3/4. So it'd be in between -1 and 2. Perfect. So we just change it to a mixed number to help us plot it. How would I draw the slope? What do I do with that?
Up 3 to the right 4.
Awesome. That's my rise over run. So I go up 3 to the right 4. So this would be 1, 2, 3, and to the right 4. So my point would be there. Once you have your points, connect your dots. So that's my first line. That's just half the question. I want you guys to draw the second line and find where they intercept to finish the question, but you guys can do that for homework. The next page is 5.2. We're solving with substitution. So looking at number 1, when we solve with substitution, remember we either need it to be y equals or x equals, because that way we can take whatever it's equal to and substitute it into our other equation. So we need one or the other, either a y equals or an x equals. Do I have one of those here?
Yeah,
Yes.
Y.
We have a y equals. So I'm going to take what y is equal to and plug it into what?
2y.
The y into the other equation. So everything else in my first equation stays the same. I have 2x plus 2. But instead of y, I'm plugging in that 5 plus x in that spot. And it's equal to 10. What would I do next?
Distribute.
Distribute the 2. So I have 2x plus 10 plus
2x.
2x is equal to
10.
10. Awesome. Marco, what do I do next?
Combine like terms.
Perfect. Combine like terms. So what's 2x plus 2x? 4x. So I have 4x plus 10 is equal to 10.
Minus 10.
Awesome. We got to get the numbers on one side, the x's on the other. So I got to move that 10 to the other side. So I'm going to subtract the 10 to get rid of it. So I have 4x is equal to, what's 10 minus 10? 0. That's fine. We can get 4x is equal to 0. Nothing wrong there. But I want it to be x equals. So what do I have to do next? Divide by 4. What is 0 divided by 4? 0. So what is x equal? 0. Perfect. Am I done? No. That's just half the question. Awesome. We want to plug it into the second one. Second one looks a little bit easier. So that's probably why you chose the second one. So I have y is equal to 5 plus 0. So what does y equal? 5. How do I write my answer? 0, 5. Perfect. All right, so again, we're solving with substitution. Do I have an x equals or a y equals?
Yes.
Yes. So I can use substitution. What should I do first? Plug what in?
Any of them?
So we can take the first equation. We can take what y is equal to. And what am I plugging that into? I'm plugging it into y in the other equation. So I'm just substituting that into y. So I have 2x plus 8 is equal to negative 2x.
I did it in reverse. I used the first equation and I moved the x onto the other side.
What should I do next? Subtract the 2x on both sides. Because I want my numbers on one side, the x's on the other. What's negative 2x minus 2x?
Negative 4x.
Negative 4x. What do I do next?
Divide.
Divide by negative 4. What's 8 divided by negative 4?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. So I have x is equal to negative 2. What do I do with that?
Plug it in.
Plug it into what?
The
Make sure you plug it into x. We can plug it into the second one because I think that's a little bit easier. So we have y is equal to negative 2 times negative 2. So what does y equal?
4.
4. How would I write my answer? Negative 2 comma 4. Perfect. Remember, it's always your x and then your y. Do I have an x equals or a y equals here? No. But in order to use substitution, if this said use substitution, I have to use substitution, how would I make an x equals or y equals?
So add 5x to y.
I would move the 5x to the right side just so I only have to move something once. So I'm going to add 5x to the other side because I want that y all by itself. So here I have y equals 5x minus 2. Perfect. Now that I have y equals, what can I do with that? Plug it into the y in the other equation. So now I have negative 4x plus 5x minus 2 is equal to 2. What can I do next? Combine like terms. So I can add my x's together. What's negative 4x plus 5x? X. So I have x minus 2 is equal to 2.
We add 2 on both sides.
Add 2 to the other side. So what does x equal? 4. Am I done?
No,
No.
plug it into the first equation.
Plug it in.
We can plug that into the first equation. That's fine. So I have y minus 5 times 4 is equal to negative 2. Dan, what do I do first? Multiply. So y minus 20 is equal to negative 2. Then we got to add 20. So y is equal to 18. How do I write my answer? 4 comma 18. Perfect. Your x and then your y.
Opposite was the same one.
So I need the same number, but opposites. So if I have a 2x, what else would I need? A negative 2x. So that's just an example. It has to be the same number, but opposites in order to cancel out. For number 1, what would you want to cancel? Let's cancel out the x's because they're already the same number but opposites. So that way we don't even have to multiply anything. So then I'm just going to combine my like terms. What's 3y plus 2y? 5y. And 17 plus 8? 25. What would I do next to solve for y?
Divide both sides.
Divide both sides by 5. So what does y equal? 5. Marco, how do I find x? Plug it in, thank you. So we plug it into y. So I have x plus 3 times 5 is equal to 17. What do I do next? Multiply. So 3 times 5 would be 15. And then subtract. So x is equal to 2. Marco, how do I write my answer? 2 comma 5. Perfect. Always your x and then your y.